President is referring to this opinion piece from the former U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. In it, Stevens argues for repealing the Second Amendment. He says it would give lobbying groups like the NRA less power and allow the government to better reform gun control. Let's discuss this and more with Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf. Nice to be with you.
Do you think the Second Amendment to the Constitution should be repealed?
We need better Supreme Court judges who can interpret the Second Amendment in a way that is in keeping with what the American people want. You know, I think that there's a right to bear arms of individuals to protect their homes, and I passed a right to carry bill when I was a state senator because people ought to have a right to protect their home. But there are reasonable restrictions that can be placed on the purchase of guns like AR-15s and AK-47s, and that's been the case through history. Sawed-off shotguns were not allowed since 1938, and even in the Heller decision of 2008, which was awful, in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court said that there could be restrictions. So no, I think the Supreme Court needs better justices who interpret the Second Amendment in the way it should be interpreted, which is kind of what Justice Stevens says. It was for a well-regulated militia, but it won't be repealed, and it's a political issue. This is one place where President Trump is right about the law, and you know, even a squirrel finds an acorn once in a while.
Let me ask you about another sensitive issue now. The president's plan to build a wall along the southern border with Mexico. CNN is reporting that the president has actually been talking privately in recent days about using the U.S. military budget to pay for the wall. He's even floated the idea to the House Speaker, Paul Ryan. This move, though, would require congressional approval. Do you think that's something that the president could use military funds, because it's a defense, national security issue, to build that wall?
It's a national security issue only in that it may be necessary to keep the president psychologically balanced. He seems to be obsessed with this wall, and he may be losing a certain amount of psychological balance, which we need to have in a president. The Congress would have to approve that funding. I think that the House might do it. I don't think the Senate will. It needs 60 votes. Nowhere would they be able to get it. There's no basis in science and fact and study, and certainly even in military. No way does anybody see that as a necessary wall to protect us from the inflow of immigration, from illegal immigration from Mexico, or drugs. The drug folks tunnel under and do a good job of it, and the immigration has been reduced and is the lowest it's ever been. So I don't think that makes sense. I don't think it passed the Senate. I'm not sure it passed the House.
Well, as you know, a lot of your Democratic colleagues were ready to support the funding, maybe $20 or $25 billion for the wall, if it also resulted at the same time in allowing the Dreamers, maybe 2 million or so, to stay here in the United States legally and have an eventual pathway to citizenship. That all collapsed, those negotiations, as you know. But would you be willing to fund the wall in exchange for allowing the Dreamers a legal pathway to citizenship?
The Dreamers should have a legal pathway to citizenship. They had one under President Obama. President Trump stopped it by rescinding that order, executive order, and he put them in jeopardy. Now he's using them as hostages. I would not want to pay that price and throw away that much money, but I would not want to jeopardize the Dreamers, who are here without any volition of their own and have proven to be good citizens. So we'll see where it comes to. My vote won't be the vote that would stop it, but I certainly won't get on the bandwagon to allow a hostage taker to get his ransom.
All right, let's talk about the Russia investigation right now. CNN has learned that at least 5 law firms have declined to represent the president. Why do you think these attorneys are so hesitant to get involved and actually help him in his legal-related issues?
Everybody who's got involved, not everybody, but most people who've gotten involved with Trump have come away with a stain. People in the Congress who he was going to nominate ended up getting in trouble, or the other things were exposed. People went over there, like Mr. Dowd, and they left because they couldn't work with the president. The president is not a good client for a lawyer. He is unpredictable. He doesn't listen to advice. He thinks he is the source of all knowledge, and he wants to direct everything. So it's difficult for him to get a lawyer who will possibly stain their reputation because of the difficulty of dealing with a client. No lawyer would recommend him go into a hearing with a deposition or an interview with Robert Mueller. Yet he says he wants to do it. I hope he does it. That'd be great. And if he's innocent, maybe he should. If he has nothing to hide, he shouldn't be trying to stop the Mueller investigation. He shouldn't be trying to put a straitjacket on Mueller. And he shouldn't be trying to keep the American people from knowing about relationships he might have had with Russia, or Mr. Gates, or Mr. Papadopoulos, or Mr. Manafort, or any of the other folks who were so close to Russia that he was had involved in his campaign.
Congressman Steve Cohen, thanks for joining us.
Good Pesach, happy Easter to all your viewers. And this is Martin Luther King 50th anniversary of his assassination in Memphis, and it's an important time to renew our commitment to Dr. King's dream.
We'll have extensive coverage of that coming up in April as well. Thanks so much for joining us. Same to you.